for joining us on this Sunday edition. We are live, the 14th day of March, 2010. Going to be here for the next 2 hours. Okay, I'm going to get into a big stack of nanny state news from not just the United States, but around the world. The same private corporate interest worldwide are lobbying governments to basically turn the planet into a prison and to micromanage and control every facet of our lives, to literally, completely domesticate us. I want to get into that stack of news, a lot of economic news as well today. But the first story I want to get into is from thebostonchannel.com. Team 5 investigates after Amesbury pulls sodium fluoride from the water supply. More than 70% of U.S. cities and towns have sodium fluoride added. And in 2000, in 2006, and we've had the head of the EPA's union on, who's a top toxicologist. Over 90% of their toxicologists and scientists have sent open letters to their bosses and to the Congress saying, take fluoride out of the water. Number one, sodium fluoride's deadly poison. Number two, under the catch-all term sodium fluoride, they are adding over 150 on average, sometimes over 300, but most cities, 150 deadly chemicals. It is the toxic waste of nuclear weapons, uranium purification, aluminum production, and, of course, fertilizer production. Mercury, lead, arsenic. And they take this toxic waste that big companies, this is such a sick joke, it's got to be the biggest hoax in history. And in the 40s, when they were producing nuclear weapons secretly in Tennessee, this is all declassified, they began dumping the fluoride byproduct in the streams and rivers. And so they put out a report in the late 40s saying, let's just put this in the water supply. And if you read mainline history books about communist Russia and about Nazi Germany, it was first the Russians by the 20s had learned that if they added sodium fluoride, and its different cofactors, there's different variants, different varieties they put in, that it is a toxic sedative. It also reduces fertility and attacks the entire body. Now, this is not my opinion. Kurt Nemo's written an article at Infowars.com that has links to the federal government, to the EPA, to Austrian university research, just to major scientific reports. It has an entire, the National Research Council, the Journal of Toxicology and Environmental Health, Agriculture Research Services. So everything I'm telling you here is on record. And you can go read how it attacks your bones and more than doubles bone cancer. It's even higher if you just look at men, but overall, averaging men and women together, a doubling of bone cancer. It attacks the bone marrow and the very important white blood cell production and stem cell production. It accelerates the aging process. It attacks the thyroid. It attacks the hypothalamus. And some will say, well, if this fluoride's so bad, why does the news say we're living longer? Well, the United States is listed as 25th in the world for longevity, right beside Libya and others. But the bigger issue here is we live less extended lives than we did 100 years ago. Oh, yes, let me explain how they cook the numbers. There's one area where Americans live longer. If you ever go out to an old cemetery, we've got an old family cemetery with 150-year-old graves in it, and you'll notice that more than half the graves are 5 years old or younger. Yes, most families lost children. Different statistics from different decades, but as much as a third or more of children never made it past age 5. And you had high infant mortality. And a lot of women died giving birth. So you go to a graveyard, it's full of 16 and 18 and 20 and 22-year-old women who died during childbirth, and a lot of times they're buried right next to their dead baby. So if you made it past the age of 10, and there's different statistics on this, but on average past the age of 10, you would live into your 80s. not to the average of what's 74 in the U.S. So we actually live, even though we have better food and supposed better medicine, we live a lot less longer than our ancestors did. Because you're going to see this hoax number put out everywhere that, well, we're living longer. No, we're not. We are not living longer. And we're way behind every other industrialized country. And because of better nutrition and a lot of good things that mainline, classic Western medicine provides, you don't die of gangrene from a broken leg or a bullet wound. So there's a lot of great things. And the establishment knows we'd be living to 120 with all of these advances if they weren't poisoning the water supply and the food. And this is on record. I have the White House science czar, John P. Holdren, writing a big textbook about drugging the water and the food. We have all these globalist statements about how they want to do this. It is going on. And ladies and gentlemen, I know you are all taught that only kooks say that fluoride isn't good for you. But if you'll just go to Infowars.com and read this one article by Kurt Nimmo, full of links to mainline universities and government research and even the EPA. Over 90% of the EPA's own scientists say, take it out. What are you doing? Even the American Dental Association 5 years ago said, don't have kids take fluoride pills or brush their teeth with fluoride toothpaste until age 6 because of dental fluorosis, and it weakens the teeth. It does not make them stronger. Don't believe me. Just search engine the term sodium fluoride or fluoridation of water cancer. You'll get hundreds of mainstream news articles. Okay? This is an absolute fact. And the Russians and the Nazis learned to put this in the camp slaves' water. There's a reason it seems like the average American is in a trance. You have been hit with a chemical weapon. This is a absolute fact. Now, on screen, this is not just a radio show. If you go over to prisonplanet.tv, you can watch us live. On screen, we have the Infowars.com article, but anybody can go to Infowars and read this article. Story on mystery substance distracts from fact that fluoride is a deadly killer. Now, this Team 5 news out of Boston, talking about one of its suburbs that it hasn't been fluoridating in the last year, talks about how whatever is in the fluoride that we're buying from China to put in our water is clogging up the machines and broke the machines, but this is what the city contract is, and so they aren't using it because it broke the machine. And it shows how of every bucket of the poison they put in the drainage system, in the filters, about a third of it is still there, and the city won't pay to have it tested for what it is. We know what it is. Okay, the top EPA scientists are on record. It is over 150 chemicals on average. When you hear the word fluoridation, that is a catch-all for hundreds of toxic waste chemicals that by law are authorized to be added to your water. Okay? And that's why, a few years ago, the top dentist who over a decade ago did the national campaign to get Canada's water fluoridated. We had him on a few years ago. He then found out, my God, this isn't calcium fluoride that actually is good for you and good for your teeth, a little bit of it. This is sodium fluoride and other molecules of it, and hundreds of other chemicals. It's 150 on average. Some water systems over 300. We got a tour of the Austin water treatment plant, 6 months ago. They wouldn't let us videotape. And it showed where when they dump the fluoride in it eats holes in the concrete if any of it dribbles out. And they gave us the paperwork that over $1 million a year is what Austin pays for bags of toxic waste. Now, here's the issue. The media is freaking out about the mystery substance, but on the newscast, they show the bags of fluoride, and it says deadly poison, attacks all the organs, will kill you. So there it says deadly poison, and they're dumping it in the water. We'll be right back.